In this unit I'm going to give you a brief introduction to the use of reference planes in Revit. So why would we use reference planes? Well, there's two main reasons. One, we could use them as construction lines. So you can see here on the screen I've got a number of reference planes. This could represent the external walls of my design. So I put the reference planes down first and I can use those as a guide to place my external walls. So that's one use. The second use of reference planes, if I just scroll over my floor plan there, and a more common use of reference planes is to control geometry within Revit. So here is a building I've created earlier, and I've got a couple of reference planes which I'm going to use to control an extruded roof. So the roof is going to start here and end there. So if I just switch to a 3D view, there is my extruded roof. Later on in the course I'm going to show you exactly how to create that roof form, so that's a discussion for another unit. Just put that steering wheel away. I'll just switch back to my ground floor plan. So although we can't see the roof in this plan, it's actually above the cut plane here. We can see the reference planes which control the start and end of that extrusion. So that's probably the more common use of reference planes, is to actually control geometry. It doesn't just have to be roofs, it can be any sort of 3D geometry. We can actually set up these reference planes which act basically as work planes on which to set out our geometry. So we said one use of reference planes in Revit was as construction lines, i.e. to help set out our building. Just going to show you how that works in reality now. So here are the reference planes that we've previously set up. So we can fine-tune their position. If I select a reference plane, I can drag it into a new position. You'll notice when I select that reference plane, I get a blue temporary dimension that comes up. I can change the value in there. I'm going to go through temporary dimensions in detail in a forthcoming unit on drawing aids. So we have our skeleton that represents the external walls of our building, and quite simply, if I select wall now, I can snap to those reference planes, zoom in if I need to, and use them to trace round. Again, I'll be going through the use of the wall command in a dedicated unit shortly in the course, but just to show you, you can use reference planes to draft out where you need your building elements to be, and then snap to those to place those elements. I also mentioned that a more common use of reference planes in Revit is to control 3D geometry in your model. So let's go back to our example of an extruded roof. So I'll just switch back to a 3D view to remind us of what we've got here. So there is a simple extruded roof over our building, and I have a dedicated unit coming up on roof by extrusion, so I'll show you exactly how to create that roof form. But for now, if we just keep in mind that the roof starts here and it's extruded to this end, and we've used reference planes to control exactly where that roof extrusion starts and where it ends. Let's go back to our floor plan, and there are the two reference planes. In reality, in a live project, you'll probably have a set distance where you actually want your roof to start. Let's say, for example, this is a meter away from the external wall. If we use reference planes for the job of controlling the start and end of the roof, it gives us a lot of power to maintain that fixed distance of where the roof would actually start in our design. So let's say we've calculated the roof needs to start a metre away. What we can do is put down a reference plane. We can put a dimension between the wall and the reference plane and constrain that dimension to be a metre. Likewise, we put another reference plane at the far end of the roof, and again we can determine what that distance needs to be based on our design, and we can constrain that reference plane to always be that set distance away from that wall. So what it means is, as you start developing your design, you may tweak the footprint, so this wall may move in or out, and if we've constrained the reference plane with dimensions, then that will always be a fixed distance away from the external wall. And then when we create our roof based on these reference planes, we can be sure that the start and end of the roof itself is always the fixed distance that we need it to be. Okay, a lot of talk about what we would use reference planes for. Let's now look at how we actually create them. You can create them in a plan view, a section view, or an elevation view. So basically looking down or side on. If we switch to the architecture menu and we look along towards the end of the ribbon to the work plane panel, we will see reference plane. And if I hover there, you can see in brackets the keyboard shortcut RP for reference plane. You may prefer to use the keyboard shortcut. So I go ahead and select reference plane. Just get rid of that auto reminder to save. Okay, so 2-click operation. First click for the start of the reference plane, and quite simply another click to define the other end. And there is our basic reference plane. Remember that modify button at the start of the panel cancels out of the current command, so we don't want to place any more reference planes right now. So that now puts Revit back to the default state. If I just select the reference plane that we've created and we look in the properties palette, you'll notice that it's got very few properties or parameters that we can set. An important one here is name. By default it's blank, so if we were using reference planes to set out our building, i.e. as construction lines, we may just want to simply place a number of reference planes into our model space. And if I select that one there, I can extend it. So the reason I've just done that is to show you that if you're simply using them as construction lines, there is no need to add a name there. They're all really the same. However, the example with the roof, where we want to control geometry with reference planes, it's fairly important that you actually give each one a name. That will become really self-evident in the unit on extruded roofs, where I put 2 reference planes down. I'll name them and show you how you use those as work planes. But just for now, it's important to I want you to note that if you are going to use them to control geometry, then give each one a name. So if I go ahead and select this left reference plane, I can give it a name. Start of roof. Likewise, select the right hand reference plane, click in the text box, end of roof. Now we'll find that when we come to create our roof by extrusion, we'll have a drop-down menu to select where we want that roof to start. Because we've named these planes, they will appear in that drop-down menu and we can select each one appropriately. As I said, that's something I will show you in the unit on roofs by extrusion. It's worth noting that reference planes are true 3D planes in your 3D world. So again, using the example of the extruded roof, we're in a floor plan view looking down here, and we can see the two reference planes that we created to control the start and the end of the roof. If I switch to a south elevation, so an elevation looking from down here, side onto the building, so in my project browser, under elevations, I double click on south. There is the south elevation of my project, and you will notice there are the two reference planes we created, and you can see they are in fact controlling the start, and if I scroll over, the end of the roof. So they're the same planes that you just saw in plan, just we're seeing them edge on in elevation. And that completes this unit. To get the most out of this training material, please take the complete course online at bimscape.com. Here you will find a complete learning management system that allows you to work through the course at your own pace. Comprehensive written tutorials provide additional information to that found in the training videos. Mark each unit as complete as you finish it and move on to the next. At any point you can return to any of the units you have previously completed to go over the material again. If you'd like to take this course online, please visit www.bimscape.com/Revit for details.